Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well, and let's get based and Bandcamp pilled with this recent cool Bandcamp news. Yes, the music community-oriented streaming and music purchasing platform, they are sort of in the sights of various right-wing online pundits as of right now because seemingly they have taken down the music of one Mr. Tim Pool, who, if you're unfamiliar with this guy, long story short, he's basically like a vanilla or a Diet Coke version of Alex Jones, just as full of crap, just as dishonest, except he sort of knows when to shut his mouth and be a bit more strategic with his crazy far-right views. For example, recently when Kanye was on his recent bigotry tour, Tim was only so happy to have him on and platform him and give him a place to talk, but he wouldn't go so far that he would actually be anti-Semitic. I guess for Tim Pool, there's at least some sort of boundary. He's happy to work against the interests of political action groups like Black Lives Matter, and he has been happy to join in with the current chorus of far-right pundits who are essentially othering the LGBTQ community, labeling them and their allies as all being groomers. Meanwhile, total ghouls like Matt Walsh think it's perfectly fine to impregnate young teenagers. But whatever. Let's talk about the news at hand here, because apparently the Bandcamp platform, which Tim Pool's music, he has been releasing music as of late, which I've sort of been ignoring because it sucks. Just kind of sounds like very bland alt-rock, very awful emo, and maybe just a dash of pop punk in there too. Anybody who's not in his cult of weirdos has kind of just been like, letting it exist, letting it slide. But Bandcamp, who I guess noticed that he had his music uploaded there, decided to quietly remove it from the platform, which honestly I think was a good move and very polite of them to do so. They didn't need to call him out. They didn't need to tear him down. They're just like, you know what? You're a weird guy, and we're just going to take the music down and not say anything, and you go your way, we'll go ours. And instead of taking a hint, like a girl who's ghosting you over text, Tim decided to go crazy and hop on social media, go on his little podcast, his little radio show, call Bandcamp out. Apparently now he's threatening a class action lawsuit. And Bandcamp, rightly so, has just been not engaging with the temper tantrum. They won't give him an answer as to why they removed his music, which is why I'm coming through here with this video, and I'm listing the top 5 reasons why Tim Pool's music got removed from Bandcamp. So that there's no more mystery, everybody knows, and everybody's aware of how it went down and why it went down. The reasons I'm about to give you are well researched, they are true, they are factual, there's no debating any of them, and yeah, they are as follows. To kick things off, the number 5 reason that Tim Pool's music has been removed from Bandcamp is their one hat policy. Now, this is a policy that not a lot of people know about because often when users sign up for the service, either as musicians or as fans, they don't really read the Bandcamp TOS. Every time I sign up for anything, I read the TOS 3 times over so I know exactly what I'm getting into. You made that mistake, Tim. You did. And if you actually read the Bandcamp TOS, you would see that they do not allow the uploading of music or media from guys who just have one hat. You either have to be hatless or have multiple of a hat, but Tim Pool, as many of you may know or have seen on the internet, just has the one beanie that he wears all the time. It's just the one hat that he has, and that's it. And he's not allowed. He's not allowed on the Bandcamp platform over their one hat policy, which I think is fair because they spell it out for you. You agree to the TOS, and honestly, it's not that hard to get another hat. Either that or just go hatless sometimes, just not wear a hat. There are options. You don't just have to wear one hat all the time, Timbo. Bandcamp's rule and reasoning here may be a little out of line, maybe a little outlandish, not the kind of thing you catch in the TOS of other companies, but you know what? They spell it out and they're clear about it, and you agree to that TOS just like everybody else. The number 4 reason why Bandcamp removed Tim Pool's music is because they are a private corporation. And while that does not a perfect system make, and I do think there should be protections for groups of people who are typically targeted or discriminated against, be it in music or in other economic sectors in the country as well. I want that. The thing is, guys like Tim do not. People who are of his ilk are only happy to stand up for businesses when they discriminate against, I don't know, a gay couple they don't want to sell a cake to. So again, they're all for businesses picking and choosing who they do and do not want to serve, except when those businesses decide that they don't want to serve a far-right psychopath whose rhetoric harms marginalized people on a regular basis. This company doesn't like you having your music on their platform. They've taken it down. Stop being a baby. The number 3 reason Tim Pool has had his music taken down off of Bandcamp is because he's a crypto-fascist with heinous views, which are a harm to the other creators on the platform. If you're actually familiar with the Bandcamp platform, you know that there are quite a few people on there making music and uploading music there on a regular basis who are part of the LGBTQ community, who are POC, and frankly, the types of views that Tim Pool platforms on his YouTube channel regularly are a harm to those creators. And I'm sure at the end of the day, the value that those creators add to the Bandcamp platform is much greater than that of a handful of sucky-ass Tim Pool songs. Even if, as he estimates, his music had 10,000 sales over at Bandcamp. Across the country right now, there are multiple state and local legislators that are trying to pass bills that are a threat to the existence of trans people and trans youth, whether it be through their freedom of movement or taking away their gender-affirming care. Tim Pool, through his social media platforms, has only been happy to support that cause, to echo those sentiments, and no, as a result of that, I do not think he should be allowed onto or invited into a platform that thrives monetarily off of that community of people. The underground and the alternative community is what built Bandcamp into what it is today. You are not allowed, Timothy Pool, to come in and use your right-wing grift crap zombified audience to come in and push your mid-ass music to the masses. No thank you. Which brings us to the number 2 reason that Tim Pool's music was taken off of Bandcamp, and that's because it's awful and it sucks ass. One track titled Will of the People, which miraculously is somehow worse than the Muse song of the same title, and again speaks to Tim's socio-political psychosis, where he sort of like imagines himself or another person who's like a renegade standing against the system and speaking for the masses. He's a populist leader. It's pretty vague in terms of its sentiments because he doesn't really get to the heart of any specifics here in terms of what he thinks and what he's pushing for and what injustices are that he's crying about here. But I mean, if you're some weirdo from Tim Pool's audience and you're hearing this song by way of Tim Pool and you're already familiar with his content, you're putting 2 and 2 together. Meanwhile, anybody else who doesn't have that context could be sucked into a rabbit hole because they don't have like the full story on why this song is the way that it is and what it's kind of messaging toward. Or at least I would worry about that if the music were actually good or compelling. Yeah, he sounds like an even more annoying American Idiot era Billy Joe Armstrong having his nuts squeezed while he's singing into the microphone. And their tainted eyes. Finally, the number 1 reason that Tim Pool's music was removed off of Bandcamp is the powers that be. If you look at Tim Pool's content on this matter, he would lead you to believe that the reason his music has been taken down off the platform is because they don't want you to hear his message. They don't want you to hear his song. He's creating culture, and then his music is going to change the world and make everybody see things the way that he does, and that's the number 1 thing they don't want to happen. It's the deep state, man. They're trying to keep Tim Pool from reaching as many people as he possibly can, because if he does, oh boy, it's going to be up for those fat cats in Washington. They're going to be in big trouble. Oh man, if Tim Pool had any real say or influence in this world, by golly, that sure would change things. There'd be no more terribleness or injustice in the world, that's for sure. And that's the last thing that they want. They want to be able to keep doing bad, naughty stuff and controlling your mind and controlling the matrix that you exist in. And they're not going to let Tim Pool's music climb to number 1 on the Billboard charts because, again, if it does, man, that's going to change things big time. He's going to be the next John Lennon, or at the very least, the next John Legend, married to Chrissy Teigen and all that, and he's going to be saying how things go from there on out. That is, only if his music actually gets hot and gets popular, which apparently he needs to be on Bandcamp for that to happen. Powers that be, for whatever reason, have allowed it to exist just about everywhere else, but just on Bandcamp, that's the real hotbed of culture. Only the most popular, most famous musicians and albums of all time are allowed on Bandcamp. That's why they won't let Tim on there, because if he was, man, he'd be taken over. So there you go. Those are the top 5 reasons Tim Pool's music has been taken down off of Bandcamp. But hey, maybe if Tim starts making better tracks, buys another hat, and becomes just a little less toxic, he could be allowed back on, you know? It's subject to change, possibly. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Make sure to leave your reasons as to why Tim Pool is off of Bandcamp right now down in the comments. You're the best. Mwah. Love you. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, forever.